Hey there, doing outrageous predictions. Doug Marie, Stephen Means, Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com. This is for the Ohio State Northwestern Big Ten Championship game on Saturday at noon in Indianapolis. Nathan and Stephen will be there. I, as always, will be in my basement. The whole season's been outrageous. I think an outrageous prediction at this point might be the game is played. They kick off as scheduled, would qualify as an outrageous prediction, given that three other Big Ten games, as we record this Thursday afternoon, have been canceled. Michigan and Iowa not being played, Michigan State, Maryland not being played, Indiana, Purdue not being played. And we know, listen, why are we going to hide it? There's like scuttlebutt out in the world about whether there might be some Ohio State players who have COVID. Rick Neuheisel said it on a radio show. He's a real guy. So listen, it's out there. We're not reporting anything officially. We don't exactly know what's going on. Nobody knows for sure. Ohio State is supposed to release an availability report on Friday. So we're just shooting you straight as we sit here Thursday afternoon. So it's hard for anybody, you guys, us, to get a handle on this game. But, you know, Ohio State's practicing. They're putting out photos from practice. They're on track for that. So we're trying to be outrageous about a game. So game related, Stephen, be outrageous.
So I'm just gonna, my outrageous prediction is somebody is going to break Ohio State's single game record for receiving yards in a game. Right now, Terry Glenn holds it with 253. And you've got two guys for Ohio State who are averaging 100 plus receiving yards a game. Garrett Wilson at 114 and Chris Olave at 105. That's the number one and number two in the Big Ten, which is why it's crazy that the media didn't vote at least one of those guys first team. But that's neither here nor there. Those guys get all the targets. 70 of 107 of Justin Fields' completions go to those two. And I think this is indoor against another defense who probably doesn't have an answer for both of those guys. Probably you slow down one, but not the other. And maybe that opens up a day where maybe either Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave can go ahead and try to break that record. I think Justin Fields can throw all over any defense he wants. And this is an opportunity in an indoor stadium where we've seen Ohio State have success before to try to break a record. And that's the one I'm going for.
It's a very specific, interesting pick because last time these two teams played in the Big Ten championship game indoors, Dwayne Haskins threw for 499, but he spread it around a little bit too much. They had four guys that had at least like 80 yards receiving that day. So if you said, okay, well, I don't think Ohio State has four guys, just the way they work. Like, I guess if Jamison Williams caught an 80-yarder or somehow Ruckert had two big plays, it makes more sense to me that if Justin Fields is getting up in the 400s, this feels like it's on the table because this offense has been so focused around two receivers that maybe you'd have one of those guys with a chance to go off. So I like that one. Nathan, what's your outrageous prediction?
So I'm actually thinking about this kind of from the other perspective, which is, as you pointed out earlier this week on a good Buckeye Talk pod where you went in depth about Northwestern, they've got some guys in that secondary who can cover. I think this is a team that's going to try to match up and maybe match up a little bit better than we've seen a defense been able to do against Ohio State's receivers. And we talked about before, when that happens, what that means for the rest of this offense, specifically for the tight ends. Now, we had a situation where Jeremy Ruckert back-to-back weeks had 4 catches early this year. It seemed like he was really growing into a bigger role. And then it didn't really work out for the Indiana game. They needed him to protect because of all the action that was coming from Indiana's defense. Michigan State, they also needed him to stay in and protect more because they were missing 3 starting offensive linemen. Assuming those guys come back, I think it opens up the tight ends, and that combination of what Northwestern's defense might open up some things underneath for the tight ends. So to make this outrageous, I'm going to say 6 receptions for Jeremy Ruckert against Northwestern on Saturday. And I think that would be his career high by far. He only, like I say, his season high is only 4. I forgot to go check the career high, but obviously there's times where even good tight ends only get 6 catches in a season for Ohio State. So to get 6 in one game would obviously be a big step forward. They have some good linebackers too at Northwestern, but I think if they take away things over the top, there's going to be those underneath routes for the tight ends still available.
I respect that because you got specific. Last time you did a tight end receptions thing, you kind of spread it around, and then it just worked out for you. So now you're getting a little bit.
Oh, it just worked out for me. You mean I was right?
Yes, you were right. So now, yes, the next step in being outrageous is being specific to one person. So I respect
yes, just being correct. Yes, and you remember, I think before the season, my outrageous prediction was Jeremy Ruckert would be second on this team in touchdown receptions. Guess where he's ranked right now? Technically, I guess he'd be third because there's 2 guys tied for first, but depending on how you want to look at it.
That's not technically third. Yeah, that's third. Nobody in the world says if there's 2 guys tied, you're second. Yeah. That is not math.
And it's in the gap between second and third is ridiculous. So I can't give you 2. That one.
It's 2. We'll see where things stand Sunday morning.
That's true. I mean, if Jeremy Ruckert has 3 touchdown catches in this game and like 7 receptions and 3 of them are touchdowns, then Nathan Baird's going to be doing a lap outside Lucas Oil Stadium celebrating.
It's only frustrating because when we're in the stadium the last time, he's counting them down to me while we're sitting next to each other. I don't want to deal with that again. So Garrett or Chris, do your job.
Look at that. Nathan Baird on the Ruckert family bandwagon. I like it. All right. So I'm going Ohio State offense as well. And I don't know if this is outrageous, but my prediction is that Justin Fields leads Ohio State in rushing yards in this game. And my other prediction is that Justin Fields leads Ohio State in rushing yards from now until the end of the season. So that as long as they play, whether it's this game in a bowl, whether it's this game in 2 playoff games, whatever it is, starting from now, he leads the team in rushing. I think this is what they've been saving him for. He led the team in rushing in the opener against Nebraska. Last week, he had 104 against Michigan State. He had 78 against Indiana the week before. Those were big games, but it didn't lead the team. He had 3 weeks where he didn't run it at all. -4 against Penn State, or 2 weeks. -4 against Penn State, 7 against Rutgers. But we know he wants to run. We know he can run. They've been judicious about this. I think they're now at the point they were trying to get him to. That this starts it, because you can't mess around Saturday. I mean, and I guess if they get out to a 31-0 lead, chucking the ball, then they don't need it. But if they at all, it's like it's go time. You can't save Justin Fields and then miss the playoff by a vote because you only won by 10 and a couple committee members weren't impressed enough or whatever. So time to unleash him. The people we talked to on the podcast Wednesday were talking about how Northwestern is a good defense. One of the things they've been vulnerable to is running quarterbacks who can make plays with their legs. So I think that might be there. I think if they drop in coverage and try to take stuff away, Justin will see that and run. And I just think he's good at it. And I think it's time for him to have no limits. And so I think he might get up over 100. I think he might have 100 every game he plays, 100 rushing yards every game left in his college football career. So not that outrageous because I think it makes a lot of sense to people. But I think it's time for Justin Fields to take over games running the ball. Receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. We're looking to be outrageous. Make sure you're reading cleveland.com/OSU. Listen to our Buckeye Talk podcast, especially that post-game pod. We'll get to have a good, healthy post-game pod since this game is at noon on Saturday. We won't be podcasting at 2 o'clock in the morning, which is a good thing. So thanks to you guys for joining us here at cleveland.com and then our cleveland.com Ohio State football YouTube channel.